There was one mentor of mine, I'll never forget that. She said that. She goes, Tim, if you really want to drive change, if you really want to drive transformation, swim in the seams. Go where there isn't anyone today and just go nuts and be yourself and just bring all of you to that moment, that space, and just let it go.
Sometimes those memories that happen outside of the learning sessions are what are the most impactful. And I know that the memories that I have at Summerfest have lasted me decades. And so if you can make that connection at a networking event at Summerfest, I think that relationship already starts out deeper than it would be maybe at a recruiting event.
Welcome to the Change Agent Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about the change that's happening within tech and business ecosystems. We have had just awesome guests on this program. We've talked about the transformation of tech and development and the transformation of people manufacturing organizations. We've talked about health payment transformation, about the way people think about how they build products and services, about how they think about their businesses as a whole. And this is going to be no different. I think this is even better than many of the conversations we've had because we have 3 more people than we normally do, and we're talking about the expansion of tech in the broader ecosystem. We're talking about Summerfest Tech today. So today I have 3 awesome guests. We have Lena DeLeet. Lena is the manager for Summerfest Tech. Welcome to the program, Lena.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. And then we also have Tim Dixon. Tim is the CIO of Generac, who's an awesome sponsor of Summerfest Tech. Welcome,
Thank
Tim.
you, Nathan. It's been a long time. Been wanting to come on here for a while.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the program.
Awesome.
And then we also have Kate Weiland. Kate is my longtime friend and colleague at Concurrency. She's the Chief Operating Officer at Concurrency. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, let's dig into Summerfest Tech. I would love to let's send this over to you, Lena. What is Summerfest Tech? Why are you involved in it? Let's just set the stage for us. Talk about what this is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will mention Concurrency is also a sponsor of Summerfest Tech too, which is great.
Awesome.
Yes,
Glad
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Which is part of why I'm here.
So Summerfest Tech is a 2-day event, full day event that happens in conjunction with the music festival. So if you're familiar with Summerfest, the world's largest music festival, it happens at the same time as that, overlapping one of the days. We also have an opening night party, which doesn't quite make it 3 days, but 2 days plus an opening night party is sort of how I've been describing it. That really means to have something for everyone in the tech ecosystem. So there are a ton of great events that happen all across the region that that specialize in their audiences, and I really think with Summerfest Tech we try to bring all those different audiences together, just like Summerfest does, where there's something for everyone, and hopefully you walk away meeting someone that you haven't met in the ecosystem before. And so how I am involved with Summerfest Tech is I do it.
Right? Job, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's your
exactly.
job.
It's like it's 100%. Well, it's 50% my job. So, as part of my role with Milwaukee World Festival, I work with a lot of our sponsors at Summerfest. But my other role with the organization is to run Summerfest Tech, and so that really is all the things you can think of. So, sponsorship, programming, logistics, all of the above. So if it is about Summerfest Tech, I probably touch it in one way or another. And thankfully, we have a really core group of leaders in the community, specifically in the tech community, that really help give me feedback and insight on the programming side, because I am not a technologist. I can
one,
I can talk a little, and so for me, it's consistently making sure, one, that we're offering something for everyone, and I think the steering committee, which Tim and Kate both sit on, do a good job of making sure it's fully representative, but then also making sure that the topics are relevant, because I don't always know what is the hardest hitting or the most exciting topic of conversation for the event, and they are usually in the forefront and on the front lines of what the new technology in the tech ecosystem is, and so they provide some really good insight there. And then we have additional members that help us with the community advocacy side, with the nonprofit side, with the startup and investor side, to sort of bring it all together and make sure that that committee is fully representative of the tech ecosystem without it being 45 people. So that is how I am involved with Summerfest Tech. I've been involved since the beginning, which was 2018.
Wow.
And yeah, I started at Summerfest and really focused on new corporate partnerships for the music festival. But then 2018 is when we had our first iteration of Summerfest Tech. And I always joke that it's because I had the time and they're like, and Lena can talk to anyone. Let's have her run this event. And so I kind of fell into the role, but it has honestly been one of the best happenstances in my career so far. And so, happy to lead the event and consistently get the steering committee and community's feedback on how we can make it better year after year.
So Lena has the best job in all the city of Milwaukee.
She does. She gets to interact with us.
It's exactly. I do truly love working with sponsors. It's a highlight.
She's perfect.
It's great because I like to think that it's more of a relationship. It's not a cut and dry sponsorship. It's really truly a working relationship, and I think that's we can go down that road. But I think it's the exciting part of what I get to do. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the scale been like, by the way? Like from first year to now?
Yeah, first year was about 70-ish people in a private space on the Summerfest grounds before we opened one day for about 3 hours. And it was just one big panel talking about how to make Milwaukee more of a tech hub. There were a couple startups there showcasing their products and technologies. And it was awesome because it really overlapped the music festival in a way that made it feel really natural and organic, and you're already there. And so we encouraged everyone to stay and still enjoy the music festival part of the event. And then the feedback we got was, this is really cool. We love that you're supporting this. This is a cool venue to sort of try to use to do it, but do it bigger. So then in 2019, it was 2 half days where we leveraged space on the grounds for sort of like an opening night party with a couple of speakers, Steve Aoki being one of them, talking about music technology.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. And I think that was the first time we had met Kate, probably through Eric Prince, because that's just how a lot of people meet. But and it was cool to bring everyone together on the grounds where the Summerfest grounds, where so much technology happens behind the scenes with music and stuff like that. And then the morning before Summerfest opened the next day, we had programming at Discovery World. So, topical location, very close to the Summerfest grounds. And then that was the first year we did our pitch competition. Marcus Lemonis was the pitch competition judge, which was really cool. We had the Harley-Davidson Livewire bike there, which always having products to be involved with the event is, I think, just that hands-on, tactile technology growth is really cool. And so that was fun. And then that's where we got a little bit more focused on programming topics. So in 2018, it was one big panel. Here we broke it out into cybersecurity, women in tech, transformation in technology. Yeah. And so that was the growth there. And then 2020 hit, which is obviously unfortunate for so many reasons. We didn't have a music festival, but what I take from that is that we were able to figure out how to stream everything because we did it all virtually. So we still did Summerfest Tech, did it virtually, which then moved us into a hybrid model last year, full day of programming, everything accessible virtually, but a portion of it was still on the Summerfest grounds. And then that sort of brings us to 2022, which is the 5th year, I think the biggest iteration we've had by any stretch of the imagination, and everything will be streamed virtually, but everything also accessible in person. So I feel like it's like the full, it's like the full real event this year.
This is it.
This is it. This is what, this is what it's meant to be. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Tim.
Yes.
What caused you to get involved in this?
So the truth is I completely lucked out, honestly. So
You and me both.
So this is a great story. So, luck, coincidence, other. I moved back to the state of Wisconsin after 30 years in the summer of 2020 to take on the first time ever CIO role at Generac Power Systems. Love working for Generac and love coming back here to the state of Wisconsin. And as I moved back to the state of Wisconsin, the city of Milwaukee, Generac did probably one of the boldest things that you would ever think a manufacturing company of 62 years in born and raised in Wales, Wisconsin, would ever do growing up in the city. They decided to become a platinum sponsor of Summerfest. And boom, big, bold move, manufacturing company in southwest Waukesha County becomes a platinum sponsor of Summerfest. And as a result of that long-term partnership with Summerfest, I also get to be a part of this wonderful person here with co-planning Summerfest Tech, of which I have been to Summerfest before a number of times, so I have that connection, but I had never been to a Summerfest Tech. And so learning about what this conference is all about, I have moved around quite a bit in my life. I don't recommend that to a lot of people with families and kids, but I have lived in a lot of other tech ecosystems and tech hubs, Raleigh, Bay Area, Austin, Chicago, DC, and I've seen what these types of conferences have been in those cities. And then I move back here and I see what Milwaukee can become in terms of aspiring maybe to be like some of those other cities and doing some of the cool things that they're doing in some of these new areas. And I just connected immediately with that passion and Safer Existence in Austin. South by Southwest is just, world renowned in terms of what they do, either in tech and film and movie and music. And I see Milwaukee in a lot of the same circumstances of which when I moved to Austin originally 20 years ago, what it was back then and what South by Southwest became. And so I saw that the door was wide open for somebody with characteristics like myself, somebody with the connections that I have in the tech space, and then just the passion to want to improve this city and this great state of which I grew up in, and wanted to turn it into a tech hub and just a popular tech destination. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, I do hope Generac does get something special out of it. I do have a little bit of a selfish twist there. I'd like to raise the brand profile of the company. I would like to raise Generac as a tech company itself, as we are transforming. Every company is transforming. We're transforming from a 62-year-old manufacturing company to a global energy technology company, and that's pretty cool. Clean energy, renewable solar energy, and things of that nature. And tech conferences like this actually help improve the brand of Generac. And so there's a work part of it that's very much a part of improving Generac's brand. There's a personal part of it for me, based on the fact that I grew up here and I want to transform the city of Milwaukee. And then there's the fact that I'm in the tech ecosystem. This helps me not only showcase the things that I like to do and talk about, but also share some of the things with companies that I'm interested in actually learning more about and working with in this town. And all of those things kind of come together in a perfect storm for me that allows me to bring all of myself to this event, and it's just a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, and not without least here, we have Kate. Kate, I don't think it was just Steve Aoki that brought you to.
It was even
Summerfest
before Steve Aoki. It was Lena Delete.
She's at the heart of all of this.
So yeah, I just got a call one day. It was, what year was it? 2018. And you reached out to me directly, and I happened to answer my phone. And that's where I first learned of Summerfest Tech. I think I maybe heard a little bit of rumors about it in the market. But the minute she called and told me what Summerfest Tech was about, I was all in. And I didn't hesitate. I think we sponsored like that day.
Yeah.
And it's really, as a representative of concurrency, I wanted to be a part of this because I have such passion to make Milwaukee known as, the best tech hub ever. And, what better way than to bring technology and pair that with fun and Summerfest. And on a personal note too, I think it just really resonated with me that, we're doing something different in our market. It's like, the same old conferences and the same old things we're sponsoring. And this just was so fresh and cool. And so that was 3 years ago. And this year I had the opportunity to meet Tim and so many others on the steering committee. And
so we have a lot of fun.
It was so fun, yes. And I just can't believe it's here already. It feels we started planning, was it in fall?
Yes. I mean, I'm already starting to think about 2023, and that's, I
Yeah.
think,
I was
how...
texting you yesterday.
Right,
You live in the year ahead.
Yeah,
You're a year ahead.
You really almost have to with this space and with this event, because I think that's what the steering committee expects, right? I come to them already having thoughts and ideas and plans, and then it's adjusting those, adding new ones, and flexing, because the tech ecosystem moves so fast. So what is exciting and relevant now, will it be exciting and relevant in a year from now? But we have to start somewhere. And so I have a little running list of ideas and topics.
Yeah, I got to tell you, these are topics that I don't see a lot at a lot of other conferences around here. These are deep, heavy topics. Like last year, making Milwaukee a tech town. That is, in itself a heavy-duty topic in terms of how we all come together and do that. Increasing the role of women in tech and the women in the CIO ranks is obviously a growing topic. Diversity, inclusion, and building diverse teams in the world of tech. That was last year's conversation, and those are deep.
Yeah.
That filled up the day in terms of how we went there. Cybersecurity, cryptocurrency, AI, once again, the diversity inclusion topics. We're going deeper this year in tech than I think we've ever gone before, and that's what the audience wants.
One of the things that you mentioned that I think really stuck out to me was about how Generac is reinventing itself to be a tech company. Many other companies in town are also doing the same thing. They're thinking about themselves in a different way.
Yeah.
They're having to represent themselves in a different way. How do you think that Summerfest Tech helps companies to sort of reflect on what they're doing and not only reinvent themselves, but then also represent and re-engage in what their culture needs to look like to be able to support that?
Yeah, I would say just number one, I thought that was just a big, bold move by my boss, the CEO, to actually launch into the sponsorship, because ultimately I think that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to raise the profile of the company in the city of Milwaukee, because we're not necessarily downtown and not a known quantity per se, but we have grown up obviously through the years, and so there's a brand there. I actually, when I moved here, I thought we were more well known outside of the state of Wisconsin than in the state of Wisconsin. So even more extra added passion to change that brand profile with this event. And then just me personally, I think Summerfest Tech brings a cool factor, in fact, a cool tech factor that we were missing, I believe, at Generac before I came. And those two things combined allow us to become more known in the community and more known from a coolness perspective.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in this tech ecosystem, people have a lot of choices. They can go work for a lot of different companies, both in the state or outside of the state of Wisconsin. So you have to take different approaches these days than you ever have before to target people in sort of the ways in which they feel they need to be targeted and attracted. And this allows us to be a part of an event that is really just so cool. It's born and raised in Milwaukee. We're giving back to the city and the community. And if you'd like to do those things in this state, in this city, this is a great place to be a part of, and Generac might be a great place to work if that's the case.
And I'll say the event itself is Summerfest's way of adapting and finding new ways to engage with the community, to engage with corporate sponsors, because I think that's something that year over year, from, if I put my Summerfest hat on, we look to make sure we're doing with all of our sponsors is how do you want to use Summerfest to fulfill your goals? And so and that's kind of where Summerfest Tech was. That's one of the ways that Summerfest Tech came to be, is through those conversations with our sponsors. Certainly at our CEO level with Don Smiley, having those conversations. What is Summerfest doing to talk to that tech ecosystem, to support us growing as a tech hub, to support the talent we want to bring in? Because a lot of companies leverage Summerfest itself as like a great client, benefit, as an employee benefit from a fund side. But it's really hard to, from a sponsor side or even from like a content side, to get a little bit more B2B or just talk about tech topics. And so John was like, we need to create an event that supports this. And, there's a somewhat of a blueprint with South by Southwest to see how a music festival merges other topics. We're certainly not trying to exactly copy them. We want to do it in the way that makes sense for our region. But I think that, those three things combined between John's passion to stay relevant with the community, and then also our sponsors looking for new ways to engage specifically with the tech community, and then seeing that South by Southwest can kind of find ways to do that we weren't reinventing the wheel by any means. I think that's what led Summerfest and the Milwaukee World Festival organization to say, how do we adapt what we've done for 50 some years and reach new sponsors? I don't know. Generac is a stage sponsor, but I don't know if Concurrency would have been a huge Summerfest sponsor, because you want to, sometimes you just have to be more intentional about where your marketing dollars go. And it you can imagine reaching hundreds of thousands of people over 9 days. That sponsorship fee is a significant investment. And so this allows the Summerfest brand to connect with so many businesses at a more intentional and accessible investment level. And that is something that I love from a sponsorship side, because I get to work with so many different companies because of it then.
The other angle there is just internally within Generac or any of the other sponsors, if you have a growing employee base like we have, we've grown nuts over the past couple of years, and you want your employees who are now connected to this event through the sponsorship and through Summerfest to learn and get deep on cryptocurrency or cybersecurity or AI or automation or any of these new wonderful topics, this is a perfect event to educate your own employees.
Absolutely.
To get on, the best and brightest folks on stage that you're going to learn from in that case, and just come out smarter, just more on top of things as a result. So there's an internal angle as well.
So sort of going off of that angle, Kate, you and I first met as in recruiting. You were recruiting for a concurrency, and then eventually joined us full time. That was quite a while.
A long time ago.
Quite a while ago, but one of the things that we were talking about was how Milwaukee as a whole is becoming a tech ecosystem, and it's growing into that, and how it's not something where we can just steal resources from each other because there's not enough resources to go around. Can you tell us a little bit about your perspective of Summerfest Tech from the context of lighting the fire in tech talent, creating more tech talent, building tech talent of our own that stays here and works here, loves being here?
Actually, Lena and Tim and I were just talking about that, and it was a couple days ago, and really bringing all of these different types of people together, different ages with different backgrounds. People that are being drawn to this event are not just your regular IT person, right? There are people that are going, hey, what is that? This isn't it's an attention getter. And so I am really excited about bringing some of our own employees there, and just the networking that we're going to do is it's like nothing else in this market. You go to any other conference and it sort of targets like one level of person. So it either targets like a decision maker, or it targets someone who is learning, let's say. But this is everybody together, and everybody's there with a sense of curiosity. And that's so cool, just being able to kind of work your way through the crowd and join different breakout groups and interact with people that you typically wouldn't. And I'm always recruiting, so I was born a recruiter. So, I just remember the last couple of events. It was just really fun to see the different types of people, I guess.
It's a crash course in all these new hottest topics. It really is. I mean, in a 2-day period, you'd be hard-pressed to find like a curriculum anywhere out there that has this much stuff, cool stuff packed in a 2-day period. It's going to be hard making decisions in terms of which breakout sessions that you actually go to as a result.
And the depth that they go, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
But the depth that they go into, and these topics and even the keynotes, it's just really, it's incredible. So it's...
but not so... It can't. What I love is that I hopefully feel like we programmed it in a way where it's so deep, where you do feel like you can learn something and get something out of it. And then especially with the breakout sessions, if you want to get really technical, you can. Or if you want to look at it more from a community involvement side and learn how to engage more, you can. So that was something really intentional this year, is that the keynotes really set the stage for the breakout sessions. Yeah, so that you can start to get deep with the keynote and then dive in even deeper with the breakout sessions, but all, some technical, some cultural, and some community-based. So there's truly something for everyone, because it's also free, and that's something we haven't mentioned yet, but that is why we have sponsors, is because it makes it free, so that you don't feel as an organization you can only send 1 or 2 representatives and they have to be a certain title. We also grouped the programming so that if you can't get away for all 2 days, because it is a lot to ask, but if you're really focused on cybersecurity, there's a keynote and breakout sessions right after each other, and that's your chunk of day. And then the networking opportunities, if you can't find one, come talk to me, because I feel like we built in an opening night happy hour, a breakfast lunch, and then a closing happy hour, and then a huge networking event at Summerfest that if you can't make it to anything else, I hope you at least make it to that, because it's at the music festival, which is also a cool new feature that we added this year, is allowing all the attendees access to Summerfest when it's going on, but then giving them their space to connect with each other. So, creating those memories, creating those relationships, to go back to what Kate says, when you are in that space, meeting people that you haven't met before, potentially looking for people to join your team and organization, I think sometimes those memories that happen outside of the learning sessions are what are the most impactful. And I know that the memories that I have at Summerfest have lasted me decades. And so if you can make that connection at a networking event at Summerfest, I think that relationship already starts out deeper than it would be maybe at a recruiting event. So.
Right.
Two things that I'm just completely passionate about. Two new things this year that we didn't have last year, and these came from surveys and feedbacks from our attendees. Is one of the themes this year is collaboration, and so there's an awesome panel that I'm a part of between Generac and Rockwell Automation. We're actually collaborating with one another. Two companies here in town who have an interest in tech. Interested in seeing both of our IT organizations and our engineering organizations collaborate with one another. We're going to get into all that and talk about how we're doing that together. And then the other session is we now have 2 private sessions, invite-only sessions for both CISOs and CIOs. So a bit more targeted, a bit more deep, a little bit more open sharing expected, and sort of a... And the invite only isn't intended to be exclusive. The invite only is intended for people who really have a interest and passion to want to give and share and then receive and build a network at the same time for that specific profile. So I think those two things are just awesome in a way. We've taken feedback from our audiences and have tailored the conference around it.
That's one of the big changes that I'm seeing in the Milwaukee community in general is like so many businesses, they sort of turn inward on themselves from a tech standpoint, from a retention standpoint, IP, and these conferences, especially Summerfest Tech, it's an opportunity for people to open up and be collaborative in a collegial way.
Right.
That
In a trusted environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is the case, where they feel they can share and not, have to worry about, being judged or being quoted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone is just so open. And that's, we have 4 people here today, but a lot of our panels are 4-people panels because they were okay with growing to that size and collaborating
together.
Well, you need to be able to put your guard down, right? You need to be able to say,
Vulnerable.
I don't have everything all figured out. I need help with a question that I'm running into from a peer who may run into the same problem.
Yeah.
I think one other thing, too, to mention is just putting Milwaukee on the map. I think this is a really great way to do that when we're trying to recruit people from outside of Wisconsin, and also trying to keep people here in Wisconsin. It's like, there's one more thing now that we can say, okay, we're doing to be progressive and to be leading edge. So that was another draw for me.
Yeah, and my company supports me going to something like this.
Yeah.
So I want to stay in an ecosystem where I have an event like this, and then I get to go to Summerfest, and then I get to go back to a company who supports that whole structure. So
2 days is a big commitment, let's face it.
yeah,
Whether you're in the office or remote, and that's a touchy topic, but either one of those, 2 days is a long commitment to be away from work. And if your manager supports you doing that, you're going to come out of that a better person. And the hope is obviously that you come back and share what you learned. And share, obviously what you got out of it, because that will make this event even better next year.
It also represents that the company is investing in growing talent and engaging talent in the community. I always feel like when we think about consultants and concurrency, I always feel like the best consultants are the ones that are not only doing work for customers, but are building the community.
Yes,
Just
network.
They just want to. You don't have to tell them this is what they want
they're
to
just
do.
doing it.
And the more that we can make our community of tech be built around that,
yeah.
And I'm sure some people are coming just for the food.
Which is great, honestly, and that's fine. Or the Summerfest access, like all of that is good stuff. I don't care why you come right now. I hope that I get to learn what I can do from your experience to make it better next year. Like that's my whole goal, is to really be open to making the changes that we need to make in order to continue to grow this and make it even more successful, and to make it this national event that people want to go to, just like they do something like a South by Southwest or something like that.
awesome. All
Can't
right.
wait.
One of my
Cannot wait.
goals, too, is to get a stage like Tim. So
Hey.
Oh.
I'm
Talk
platinum.
to
I have
me.
to work.
You
Talk
know,
to
you
me.
know the right person here.
That's my goal. Get a concurrency stage.
All
Can
right.
you imagine?
Oh,
that
that'd
would
be so fun. We were born to be on a stage too. We could even, put a band
So
together.
speaking of which, this is an added benefit of being a platinum sponsor. Generac Power Stage, the Generac Power Bar. You guys are all invited. Just
Oh,
let me
that's
know
so nice.
anytime you want to come down.
Well, I will be there all day, every day. So
I'll be there all day.
Yeah, right.
Every day.
Backstage tickets.
Yeah.
There is an awesome. The Generac Power Stage this year has an awesome music and band list.
Great lineup. Yeah.
Willow is certainly a one I'm going to check out. The Black Crows. There isn't a night that is certainly free from excitement. So it's going to be a matter of how many nights you can actually get down.
Right.
Right.
And some of these concerts start at like 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah. I mean,
start
we open
early.
at noon and we
Yeah.
end at midnight. So
So it could be an all-day
Yeah.
affair. So
you're just gonna have to take off all the Fridays.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, the last question for each of you. Tim, you've done such a wonderful job of engaging in Generac, helping it to be what it wants itself to be a expression of it becoming a real technology company, transforming itself in the market. I mean, Lena, you've certainly changed the way that people think about Summerfest.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And Kate, man, you're just an expression of how to create awesome tech talent and to make them inspired to help people be doing great things. I would love to hear from each of you. Who is someone that's inspired you to be that
Ooh,
person?
deep.
You express that every day in who you are and being a change agent in the world. Who's inspired you, and tell us a little bit about them.
So I've had the luxury of having many coaches and mentors through my career. So I can't say that it's been one. It's kind of been multiple that have built up over the period of time, and they each teach you something differently. And there was one mentor of mine I'll never forget. She said that. She goes, Tim, if you really want to drive change, if you really want to drive transformation, swim in the seams. Go where there isn't anyone today and just go nuts and be yourself and just bring all of you to that moment, that space, and just let it go. And there's a lot. I've lived that, obviously, in my most recent career, and I think that is a great case for this, is that there's such a open door. This is our 5th year.
I know. It's
I think South by
Wow.
Southwest is going on its 30th year of some sort. So they've been there, done that in a lot of different ways, and there's still a huge opportunity to transform this event in the way that we want it all to be. Swim in the seams. There isn't anything like this out there today. Let's go make this our own.
absolutely.
Awesome.
That's why I do it.
Great advice.
I'm going to cheat a little because I have technically 2 in my mind, and neither of them are singular people. So I would say that in the organization, all of my leaders have been sort of those people that have allowed me to make any of these changes, right? So they really employed me to lead and create this event however it needs to be created to be successful, which is crazy, right? Like for me, I feel like I'm constantly asking our president, like, should I do this? Should I do this? And she's like, just do it. Just do it. Yeah, just do it. And so they've really given me the agency to create Summerfest Tech to be as successful as it possibly can. And I think it's hopefully showed over the past 5 years that the reason I can do that, and this leans into the second group that I think really has allowed me to be, the change agent or to think about things that way, is the tech ecosystem here. Like, it's not a singular person. It is everyone that I've come into contact with and talked to them about Summerfest Tech and the tech ecosystem and given their feedback and supported it and shared it and told everyone to come to it. That has made it successful. So they kind of work hand in hand, but I wouldn't be able to make the changes that the community wants without my organization saying, if that's what the people want, then we need to figure out a way to give it to them, and vice versa. I couldn't be so open with the tech community and say, tell me what you want, tell me what topics you want to hear, and I'll deliver on them without sort of that support internally. So they kind of work hand in hand. It's a little bit cheating, but it's truly like everyone around me supporting this event that allows me to do the event and make it successful. So
The freedom to be able to
it's
be
so great.
your own leader, in a sense.
Yeah.
To be able to go about and do what you know is right.
So yeah, someone used that entrepreneurship word the other
Yeah.
day about it, and I almost was like, well, no, it's not. Like, it's not a business. And they're like, no, I mean, you are creating this event, and because I always see it as I'm only creating it because Summerfest allows me to, but then the tech ecosystem supports it. So without either of those things supporting me, there's no way I could create this event. So unless I had bajillions of dollars, and then I could probably make it pretty exciting to come to. But with the grassroots efforts that we've had to do because we're a nonprofit, those 2 entities supporting it has just made it what it is. So.
It's in itself is a change agent.
Yeah,
This
and
festival.
that community
Yeah, big
includes
time.
our partners and sponsors because again, they make it free. They provide the funds to be able to have all these great happy hours and stuff like that, and that's important. And so, I like to give them a little plug when I can because that the tech ecosystem includes all the sponsors literally investing in Summerfest Tech too. So.
All
It's
right,
not
Kate.
cheating anyway. It's really good. So I really thought long and hard about this because I have so many examples. You're even one included, Nate.
Ooh.
But I would say
Juicy.
it's true.
Oh.
So I would say I'm going to go all the way back to the moment I got into IT. So I did not have a background in tech. I went to school at UWM for public relations and mass comm. But there was a woman who I had met, and I was telling her how I hated my internship in PR. And she's like, you should consider IT. I was like,
Wow.
what's IT? She's like, information technology. You would be a great recruiter. I'm like a military recruiter for computers. And she's like, no, you could get into IT, and you'd be a great recruiter, Kate. And so I took her business card and walked away scratching my head like I have no idea what she was just talking about. Put her card on my dresser. I remember this is back in college, so 6 months later when I took that card off my dresser, it was like I blew the dust off. Like, oh, I remember this woman who gave me this advice on something about recruiting. So I called her and I interviewed for my very first position in IT. And I've been in IT ever since. And, I pause sometimes and think, well, how did I get this lucky to be in such a great career? And
It's not so bad.
it's so great. And I love technology, and I love just how we're changing the world. And I wonder, what if I wouldn't have met her? And I'm still friends with her. And I just give her all the credit.
That's so cool. I love that. It's almost like it was just meant to happen that way.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like serendipity at its finest. And I was a cocktail waitress, by the way, and she came in. She was one of my favorite customers. And so one day I was just, I got to know her and was complaining about this job. And
So it wasn't even at a school event?
No, it was actually,
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
working as a cocktail waitress.
That's
and
even
she
cooler.
came in, and she'd come in all the time, and I got to know her.
And you're like, if she can come in all the time, like, this might actually be a really great career.
That's a
And
definite.
she was so amazing. She was just really bright and energetic. And so I just really was, taken aback by this, the thought of this, but really didn't even know the impact it would ever make on my life.
That's a transformation itself.
Yeah.
Right
That
there.
is, exactly. And I
So
think,
cool.
just the fact that she was a change agent in recruiting me and inspiring me to try something that I would never in a million years thought of. And now I take that passion myself and want to inspire especially young women because when I got into this, this other woman and I were the only ones really in this particular business. But that just inspires me to
Pay
be
it
that
forward.
change agent. Yeah, and pay it forward.
Were you like, I can really see you in this drink?
Yes. I
Sounds
was
a
like,
great
I can
drink for
see
your
it.
long dinner experience.
And I'm going to call her tonight too and be like, I just gave you all of all the credit for my career
Good
on
for
the
you.
podcast.
Good for you.
Right?
She'd
Yeah.
love that. I bet
Thanks,
she'd love that.
Christine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you, all of you. You have been
Thank you.
fantastic
Yeah,
guests.
thank you so
we
much.
love what you're doing, and thank you for being so open and transparent about sharing your story. So it's just awesome. And thank you for joining us on the Change Agent Podcast. We will see you next time.
Awesome.
Thank you.